Good morning, good afternoon once again. This is the session 5, Actions to Combat Climate Change of the Global Youth Leadership Program, where we convene with young professionals from dozens of countries. And Prasiddhi and Peshang, as you know, this is a closed program exclusive for the approved members of our Global Youth Leadership community, in which we aim to build a network of global leaders committed to positive change through youth-led projects aligned with the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. And we really aim to empower leaders, young individuals, and change makers by fostering engagement, exchange of information, action on social, economic, environmental issues at our local, national, and global levels, considering different forms of political or culturally sensitive priorities. And over the course of the sessions, we have different teams every single occasion, and we have working groups composed by interested individuals running in the background. As people meet over Zoom, we provide mentorships to them as they work on either panel discussions or field projects or producing informative content to disseminate credible, trustworthy information on whichever team that they are working. So we're thrilled to have you on board for this session as climate change is very frequently identified by the Secretary General of United Nations, Antonio Guterres, along with the other prominent intergovernmental organizations, as an imminent threat of peace, security, and sustainable development, with many critical impacts on women and youth significantly. Just recently, when Antonio Guterres was up at UN General Assembly to speak on the priorities of 2025, he mentioned 4 evils disturbing the UN agenda: runaway conflicts, rampant inequalities, raging climate crisis, and out of control technology. So these are all really intersectional crises where we see one binded to another in many, many diverse ways. So we really want our young leaders to be more knowledgeable about this crisis. And I'm very sure that your vision, which are already being implemented in variety of different platforms, will ignite many different inspirational projects or ideas in our young leaders' horizon as well. So today we will first hear the remarks of Peshang Karim, then we will host Prasiddhi Singh to receive her remarks, and then the platform will be open for a Q&A discussion. So I would love to introduce our first speaker, Peshang Karim. He is a climate activist who focuses on the effects of climate change. He is passionate about representing the voices of young people in the Kurdistan region of Iraq and helping to create a plan to mitigate the effects of climate change. Peshang has a master's degree from Warsaw University of Technology and is currently pursuing a PhD in environmental sciences with a focus on hydrology. He is the CEO of GYLP Environmental Organization, a youth ambassador, and a member of Yango's communication team. He is also the regional youth focal point for the United International Federation of Youth. Peshang has participated in many international conferences on climate change and the environmental issues conventions, including speaking at the UN Youth Climate Summit in New York. He was also the country coordinator of the Iraqi delegation at the Conference of Youth, UN Climate Change in Glasgow in 2021. So Peshang, the floor is yours. Please do inform us about the latest status of this crisis and some of the resources or tools or platforms that our young leaders can engage and take the lead to mitigate this crisis. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jamrat, for the nice introduction and for hosting us again. And congratulations for the JFK for organizing such a beautiful event and educating a bunch of youth that can be. I'm pretty sure that they will be leaders in their home countries and they will be the automotive engine of driving awareness in their home country. So thank you, huge thank you for this achievement and for pursuing this program. Basically, what I can say from my personal perspective is that climate change is a reality, and no human being can deny that we have this reality now in the world, and we all agree that we have a problem, and it's a man-made problem, unfortunately. So we are the responsible party of the huge devastation happening in the world around us. And if we are the source of the problem, we are also can be the source of the solution. So basically, what we want to do in this manner is to act. And for everything that we do in life, we go to science, and we, based on the scientific evidence, all the scientific evidence around the world are saying that we have the solutions now in hand. We can change the climate change, and we can reverse the wheel. We can try to reduce our carbon footprint. We can reduce the amount of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, reduce the greenhouse gas. And so this is a matter of, not a matter of how, it's a matter of who is doing what. So basically, and sometimes as climate activists, as youth, we may say that, okay, let the government do this and that. So we are demanding the governments, the parties to do those things, one, two, three, four. I'm really with that, and I'm really in the favor of the countries and the parties to be part of the solutions, not the problem. And we have really a good legislation as a basis of benchmark, which we called Paris Agreement, and which all the nations around the world agreed to keep the world below 1.5 degrees, and so reaching out the net zero by 2050. So this is what we have, and the parties have decided that, and each country is trying to reach their own nationally determined contributions, NDCs, and they're doing that, and not as what we expected. We expected them to move faster, to work harder in that manner, to shut down the fossil fuel plants, but things are not going on in our favor sometimes in the world. Some political issues may happen, some wars may happen in the world, which is unfortunate, but it's a reality of what we live in. So I'm coming back to the perspective of, in this global area, what can I do? So, as you mentioned, that I was lucky that I have been part of the huge United Nations Framework Convention of Climate Change, UNFCCC process conferences, and where the parties meet together, and they try to make negotiations of how we can combat the climate change. Many fundings have been are released in those conferences. But the matter of the question to me is, what can I do as a individual in that manner? What the conferences, or what's the initiative has in advantage for Peshang? What can Peshang do in this manner? So I think this is a question that we all need to ask ourselves. What can I do in my community? I think the most important thing is that we all are really capable of doing huge things, and we are the source of the power in all our nations. So youth are representing the driving factor of every nation. So everyone, starting from ourselves, we can have a big change in our community. So what can Peshang do for his community? What can you do for your community? So this is the question that we may ask ourselves in the personal perspective, in an environmental, in organizational perspective, and in that manner, basically, each of us can run an initiative, a campaign in their home country. So it will be really easy to just launch a campaign in your hometown, in your street, in your neighborhood. That we have done that. I remember that in 2019, before the pandemic, we released. I'm from the northern Iraq, Kurdistan region of Iraq, and it's mostly a Muslim community. So there are many mosques, and people are going there, and due to the heat waves and the high temperature there, people are consuming water so much. And unfortunately, all the waters that they consume, due to the hygiene issue, they are consuming the bottled water. So and plastic bottled waters. So the amount of the plastics that is consumed there is too much. So we thought about that. We have this problem. So how can we solve it? So we ran an initiative that we said that in your home community, we went to speak with the administration of each mosques and to collect the plastic bottles, and then we connected some people who were just recycling the plastics. And with this small initiative that we just launched, we were able to, like, I think in one, if my memory serves me right, I think in one day we were recycling like 20,000 bottles, plastic bottles, which was really, really big for a city that doesn't have any recycling power plants. So some small tweaks that you can do in your community that fits for you. So we don't have one solution that fits for all. This is my second point here, that you need to find your unique solutions for your own community. And it's very important to have the sense of responsibility, accountability, which is really is a good and big title that's been discussed in UN process, that we need to account for our actions and we need to act in our community. It's better to act like 1% line than not acting at all, or just having minus and putting more and more negatives to what we have now. So each of us, I think, can do a small step that we can do in our life, but it's a matter of, do you want to do it, and do we have the necessity to do it? I think we all need to act, because it's not my only home, it's our home. So this is our planet, and we all need to act for our sake of region. And so another campaign that we have done, I think it will be good for you, is that we live in a zone that we don't have huge water to fresh waters to use to consume. And this year we have a drought yield in my drought country year in my home country. And in that perspective, we manage a new project, how to consume less water to irrigate the plants in my home country. So in that manner, we were able to give solutions to the stakeholders, to the companies, and bringing together. So organizing a conference that you can bring the legislators and the companies together, so you can do that. So it's a matter of, there are many tools that we can use. It's a matter of, do you want to do it, and how we can do it in that manner. We have the all technologies in hand. Another thing, my last point will be is if you want to have a general idea of what's going on in the world, try to participate in international conferences, try to gain your network, be part of the negotiations, just like as an observer, to see how the decisions are being made, and what are the new ideas that you can bring to your home community. Because at the end of the day, everyone goes to their home, and you all sleep in your home. So it's a matter of, what do you take back to your home country. So try to take advantage of your date, of your time, and of your power to drive to a good change, because the world is changing no matter what we were. So try to be in the safe side, in the right side of the history, to have a better change for a better tomorrow. Because at the end of the day, it's better to have a good tomorrow than not having a tomorrow at all for our next generation. And we are all responsible. Unfortunately, we and you are the youth, and we are the first generation that has the responsibility to act, because after us, unfortunately, it will be too late to change the world, and we will be in a very devastating matter. So it's a matter of in our shoulder to act for a better change. Thank you so much, and for listening to me. And if you have any questions later on, I'll be glad here to answer you. Thank you. Back to you, Jamra.
Well, thank you, Peshang. That was very such a to the point presentation, and I really liked your emphasis on the issue of the denial, because climate affairs have been always a humanitarian crisis that was also oversighted in the public arena as well, because of the economic priorities endorsed by big tech companies or production lines or states that are really ignorant of this problem, caused a bad influence on the public level to really see climate crisis until now, that we now experience the harms of this rampant issue in our personal lives. It's almost June here in New York, but I've never experienced this level of a rainy spring. It's about 11 degrees in New York. Summer is around the corner, or we experience very prolonged summer months with very high levels of heat, or we see drought sessions, just like you underlined, or floods on the extreme other end of the scope taking place in different countries. So it's real. It's here already. A bit late, but just like you under scored, it's better to take an action than not acting at all. And we always speak of this. There are dozens of conventions, human rights communities, or intergovernmental organizations working on such crisis. But when there is no political will, we won't have any implementation. So that's why your remarks on engaging in diplomatic discussions with state leaders, enforcing them to take imminent action-oriented policy briefs is very, very important. And maybe I will come back to this question and receive your opinions later on, but I want to really speak on the issue of how young individuals, particularly women and girls, are impacted by this crisis, because particularly in apartheid regimes, in patriarchal societies, I have read this very interesting studies of UNICEF, which said millions of hours are spent by young women and girls as they fetch water from very dangerous routes, walking there, spending time, being deprived of right to access education, as they have to take this duty on their shoulders. So we'll come back and speak more on the gender related issues caused by climate affairs. But thank you so much. We'll come back with more questions, as I noted. Now over to Prasiddhi Singh. She is a young environmentalist and the youngest, in fact, recipient of the Prime Minister's National Child Award. She is the founder of the Prasiddhi Forest Foundation and holds the India Book of Records title as the youngest fruit forest creator. Passionate absolutely about sustainability, she has planted over 100,000 trees and created several microforests across India. A two-time TEDx speaker and the youngest keynote speaker at the Harvard Model United Nations India, she has led over 600 workshops, building a global eco-army of 40,000 young changemakers. Recipient of the Diana Award and Global Child Prodigy Award, among the many others, Prasiddhi is now working on Web3, climate technology, and nature-based solutions, continuing to inspire young individuals around the world with her G3 project, meaning generating oxygen, growing food, gifting your community. So we have a very inspirational young individuals with us. Prasiddhi, it's over to you. We look forward to hearing your remarks.
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. And greetings, namaste, and vanakkam to all of you wherever you are. It is such an amazing opportunity to connect with all of you and really speak as young advocates in this field, trying to create real time impact. It is always brilliant to be in spaces like these. Thank you so much for inviting me over here. And to begin with, I actually wanted to say that what Peshang outlined before, in terms of climate, how we are on the verge of so many issues that contribute to the climate crisis, whether it is biodiversity loss, where it is predicted that we might lose 1 million species, or if it is gender inequality, if it is deforestation or ocean acidification, so many problems that we face today in the climate crisis. And at the end of the day, it is us as young people who really need to ensure that we are being heard and that we raise our voices to not just bring systemic change, but to also ensure that real impact is being created on ground. And that is why I felt when I first got reached out for this session, I was thinking, what is something that I can share with all of you? And I realized that I should talk about how events, especially climate events, are integral as an opportunity, as a platform to really leverage in different ways. And that is why I thought to focus on voices of change and how we as youth are an unstoppable force of climate action. So, can you see the slides? Yes? Perfect.
Yes.
But before we move on to that, I want to talk a little bit about my journey. So, this is me when I was very young. I'm still young, I'm just 12 years old. But from always, I've been a nature lover, admiring trees, spending time in nature. This is me below the golden shower tree and learning from nature. But then at the age of 4 in 2016, Tamil Nadu, which is the southern part of India where I live, experienced the Vada cyclone, which was disheartening. And looking at the impacts, looking at trees whom I treat like my friends getting uprooted, I was devastated and I was not able to understand what can I do. I had this question that I wanted to support our planet, that I wanted to do something for Mother Earth, but I could not figure out what, which is when I came across participating in tree plantation drives. So from the age of 4 to the age of 6, for 2 good years, I learned from experts, I participated in these plantations, and then at the age of 6, I took a mission that I want to plant 1 lakh, as in 100,000 trees, which was huge. Just imagine a 6-year-old girl taking that mission. It was big, but gradually I created my networks, I worked on it, I met with people, I spoke to people. And till now, today, I have planted 150,000 trees and mobilized 80,000 people across 20 countries. And these plantations I've done in 110 places with villagers, farmers, rural communities, rural schools, working with people, connecting, speaking about what I'm doing with a mission to heal our earth. And that is exactly why today I wanted to focus on four integral things, which is the power of youth, advocacy, sparkle. I'll come to that, and how exactly you can start your journey. Now, when we speak of power of youth, who exactly is youth? Most people have the definition, which is as per UN, those who are aged 15 to 24. But in my opinion, we are a power force who have the capability to create a, to create this transformation for our planet. Because being nearly 1.8 billion in number worldwide, which is literally 1 in 4 people around the world, we have the capability to not just influence decisions, but to also do things ourselves. Because if each one of us started taking simple steps, just imagine the difference we can create. And a very good friend of mine, she often quotes that today we might just be 25%, but we are 100% the future. We are 100% people who will make a difference. And we need to understand this power. We need to harness this capability that we all have if we work together. So I'm not sure how many of you have seen this chart or how many of you are aware about it. I'm sure you might be. But it starts with the greatest, then silent, boomers, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha. These are the generations which are there. So leaving greatest and silent aside, boomers were people who really focused on economics, bringing a difference, working on how we can bring up this industrial revolution practically. Then Generation X focused on globalization, introducing technology in simple ways, trying to see how it can be integrated into our daily lifestyle. Millennials brought this digital revolution of tech. And as Gen Z, we or you have a responsibility to create and inflict real change. And in terms of change, what I mean is that understanding that we are all not different but the same. And if we want a livable future, like what Peshang mentioned earlier, if we want a future that exists and hopefully a better and brighter one, we need to work together to ensure that. I come from Generation Alpha, and in the future, I think climate and sustainability is something not future already, something that works so closely. But as Generation Alpha, we are still young, we are still finding our way. Not that you should underestimate us, but Gen Z right now is the power force. And Gen Z right now has the capability to create change. As change makers, as creators, as innovators, using social media, using technology, using the so many tools that we have. And the best part is that we are not alone. A 2022 report shows that 67% of youth believe that they can influence national policy. And this belief is the first step to starting our real journey. And this brings me to the second thing, advocacy and empowerment. Now, when we speak of advocacy, the first thing that comes to our mind is policy. It is going to places and talking about it. It is about maybe demanding world leaders and systemic change, campaigning about things. But it is not just that. Something we need to realize is that it is also about taking real action. It is also about talking about solutions, which is something I'm trying to do by nature based solutions. I don't just focus on awareness, I also try to focus on action by doing tree plantation, lake restoration, agroforestry, working with communities on ground. And then what I do is that I represent these voices on a global platform. And this is what is needed. For instance, this is a picture of COP28 of Yango. We had come together and we were having a discussion. Maybe some of you would have also been there. And as a youth advocate, what is important is to spotlight, mobilize, create real impact, and do policy. I don't think I need to tell all of you about this because you've already been going through this journey, trying to promote it. But something that is important during this journey that I have realized is number one, having resources. Going to so many different platforms, we always, either we are speaking or networking or connecting, but something we forget is so many opportunities to learn. Whenever I go, I find ways, okay, somewhere there is an AI thing happening, I'll just go and see what is going on. Or if there is a workshop happening on design thinking, I'll just go and look at it and try to collect the resources that are available in these many platforms, or whether it's online courses. Then building this community. This journey can be very difficult and different. Climate is not something that is so openly accepted right now, still not seen as a proper path. But a community can really help all of us. At least it helped me. It helped me to continue in my journey. People who are doing the same things. And by telling my story, I was able to find these right people. And finally, summits. This is what I was reached out to talk about, how people, as young people, we can navigate climate summits. And that is exactly why I want to talk about the Sparkle formula, which I created for myself. Now, in simple words, before I move on to talking about Sparkle, going to these different places, I realized as one of the youngest person almost everywhere, it was very difficult to make space because the first thing they saw was that I'm a child, which I am. And then when you talk about serious things, when you talk about, for instance, I also run an organization called the Green Pillar, where we provide courses and programs to corporates, doing these business deals, talking to all of these people. Just imagine. It is difficult, but what really helped me was having confidence and having sparkle by my side. The first one is to speak. So, whenever we go to climate summits, for instance, recently I was in Change Now, which happened in April in Paris at Grand Palais, something very interesting happened with me. It was a 3 day summit. A lot of things were going on. In fact, recently I have taken on a new mission, which is to plant 10 million trees, for which I launched the storybook you can see in the back or over here in the slides, which is an illustrated storybook for children. And over there, I also had a booth which Change Now had exclusively given for me because of the work that I'm doing. And I was extensively networking with people, trying to sell as many copies I can, because for each book bought, I plant a tree. And what happened was that main session, there were a lot of sessions, but my main keynote speech was on the last day as the youngest speaker to conclude the entire event. And exactly that day, coincidentally, a lot of people started coming to my stall. A lot of people started coming to get my books. And it was literally 15 until 15 minutes before I'm supposed to go on stage. People are just coming, and I'm giving away my books. And it was so difficult. I was thinking about the books all the time. I completely forgot my session. And something that you all might agree is to speak, you always need a state of mind, and you always need that place and calmness before you go on stage. But in reality, climate summits never allow you to have that. Every minute you're running somewhere, suddenly you're on stage, suddenly you get asked a question, you need to answer to it, and it is difficult. But thankfully, I was well prepared and I gave a wonderful keynote speech at Change Now Summit with a lot of people who heard me. And then there were a lot of brilliant collaborations that happened after that. And this was the first thing, which is S, which is speaking. The next one is listening. So I was actually in this session where I was also talking about listening, and a lot of people reached out to me and said, why is listening important? You always have to share your story. How is listening to other people's story valuable? And this takes me back to COP28, which is again 2 years ago in UAE. Over there, also, I was in a lot of different forums, but something that happened is policy. This was actually one of my first forums where I got introduced to negotiation, decision making, understanding about the global stock take, understanding about global north, global south, Yango, all of these adaptation, mitigation, different working groups coming up with the policies, having these discussions. And the biggest learning, what I had over there, was how valuable it is to listen. Because before this, I was always like, oh, this is my session, fine, great. And after that, I was gone. I did not wait to listen to other people. But in this, what happened, that if I wanted to be a part of the decision making process, I had to listen to the opinion of other people. And that really made me understand how powerful it was. Often, when I asked a question, I ended up connecting with that person, when really meeting and creating these impactful connections that supported me moving on. Then the third one is networking, which is incredibly important. And as always, as I told you, often before you're about to go on stage, some of the best things happen to you. So, this is the NASSCOM Summit, which is the largest technology summit that happens in Asia, where I was also a speaker, a part of a fireside chat. And I was waiting in the speaker lounge. I was supposed to get mic'd up and get ready. And I was sitting, and all of a sudden a person comes, the founder of the entire summit, and she says, Prasiddhi, look, meet this person. And turns out that he was actually, Tata Group is a huge group, TCS, in India, and turns out that he was actually the head of it. So I ended up making a connection, a network that turned out to be so powerful with me. Later on, we did a couple of collaborations. Or CNBC, the director of CNBC for India, she was also over there. We also networked, got connected, and then later on in one of the interviews, she invited me. So, networking is also so important. And I'm not just talking about global forums or national forums, even local forums. Just a few days ago, there was this event that was happening of women, the local organization which was there, which is more than 100 years old. And they invited me over there to speak. And there were a lot of women from the place where I live. and they had come together to discuss. And with a couple of them, I ended up having some brilliant collaborations talking about things. And now there is a huge project that we are working on. So every forum utilizing these networks is incredibly valuable. And wherever I went, whether they were influential people, whether they were even politicians, celebrities, entrepreneurs, sportsmen, you don't know. Climate is something that just gets integrated everywhere. So, leveraging these people and building these contacts is super essential. That's something that I have realized. Then comes R, which is being ready at all times. So, SPAR. We are on the fourth one right now. Why I say this is because G20. So you all would have heard of G20 right now. I think South Africa is hosting it next year. US is supposed to host it, and India was the host a few years ago. And at that time, there were a lot of national events going on, and one of it was at IIT Kanpur, one of the most renowned universities of India. And there I was invited as a guest. So I was not actually a speaker. I was still invited over there as a guest, and I had a place where I was showcasing my work, meeting with all these people. And what did I do is I really leveraged that opportunity so well. I had all my details with me, I had a standee with me, my cards with me. And at this point of time, I had not been to COP28 or COP29 or any global forums. This was my first few forums of international summits. And while this was going on, I kept myself ready at that time. I made connections. And then a few months later, I got invited to an even bigger summit at the University of Kashmir as their youngest panelist, as their youngest speaker, as part of a panel on green energy and innovation among some of the most renowned professors in G20's summit. So this is how it happened. I was ready, I made the right contacts, and through this, I was able to get another opportunity that helped me advocate for the work that I'm doing. And finally, we come to K, which is kindness. So you will think kindness inward. How is this even related to youth advocacy? But this is such a big learning that I had. And what used to happen with me was that I went to so many summits, and then at that point of time, I'm so excited. I forgot to eat, I forgot to sleep, I forgot to do a lot of things, and that really impacted me. But then let me go back to COP29, which happened in Baku in Azerbaijan. It was of 2 weeks. And that year, my NGO, Prasiddhi Forest Foundation, actually got accredited with UN. So now, in fact, even in SB, in June, I'll be traveling to Germany for the subsidiary body meeting. In in November, Brazil, COP30 is happening. And we shortlist young people from around the world to attend this climate summit, and then we provide them with the accreditation. So I was required, being the founder, to be there in all the entire 2 weeks. And it was so difficult because you go there in the morning and you come in the night, and the whole day there were so many interesting things happening. And that is when I realized how important it was to put myself in a schedule to ensure that I'm looking after myself, because I managed for 3 days, 4 days. Then the fifth day, I started to get tired. I was not able to focus on things properly. So that really helped me. And in fact, COP29 was a very special event. That is where I launched my first book, Prasiddhi's Amazon Rainforest Adventure. So, yes, kindness is actually one of the most important in all of this, because if you're kind towards yourself, it helps you in your youth advocacy. It helps you in spreading the message in a much more clear way and to really leverage it. Okay. I'm not sure why that happened. Okay. Now we come to the second last one, which is live climate. So, live climate. So, why am I saying this? The reason is because there are so many events which are not about climate, and you get invited over there, or you are over there because maybe your friend was invited, you're with that person, or maybe you're a speaker, all different kinds of reasons. But the best thing about a youth advocate, especially in climate, is how do you manage to integrate that? And it can be challenging. For instance, this was a summit, Leaders of Tomorrow by Economic Times, and it was actually about these companies, startups, and how they were fueling the economy of our country. And even our commerce minister was over there, and I was invited as a guest because I also run an organization, the Green Pillar, which is also supporting in many ways the ecosystem of our country. And in terms of that, I was speaking about it, but still I managed to connect businesses with technology through ESG, environmental social governance. There was a summit on art, so I connected art with climate or technology with climate. Really finding those connections is essential, because climate these days is connected everywhere. You want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be a content creator, you want to be a businessman. It is really relatable and really easy to connect. So to ensure how we build these connections is incredibly vital. Or there was Indian of the Year, which was a summit where a lot of celebrities had come. So I connected how leveraging our audience as content creators, as influential people, to spread across the message of sustainable living is important. And finally, I come to E, which is which is an integral one: express truth. So I'm not talking about don't say lies or be truthful. What I'm talking about is authenticity. So often it happens that I go to events and then you might get distracted, you might get other ideas, you might forget the core that you are actually working on. But it is important that we do not forget that. It is important that we stay connected to that. Going to a lot of events, you can get distracted. And it happened to me for a while in the middle. But then again, I found my way back. Going to a lot of events, I was getting overconfident. But then I realized how important it is to stay grounded. And the biggest key to that, super secret that I want to share with all of you to staying grounded and to remember that, is to keep doing your work. These are a few pictures of what I do. And I ensure that every day, whenever I get an opportunity, I go to a plantation, I connect with people, I talk to them, I focus on my climate action journey. And this is something that we should never forget. So, if you are someone who is maybe, even if you're someone who does campaigns, who does petitions, don't forget what you do. If you are someone who is working on maybe lake restoration, don't forget that. If you're working on supporting people locally, if you're working on all the issues that you do not forget that you're working on promoting gender equality. Stay rooted to your core and then keep expanding, keep connecting it in the many ways that you can. So, my last section, which is where to start, I'll be a bit quick over here, is about the Green Pillar that I've been telling you. It is an organization focused on climate education, a social enterprise through which I'm spreading awareness about our planet and trying to equip young people with the resources to know about it. And you can head to our website, the www.thegreenpillar.com. We do a lot of interesting things. We have a global tribe which we created with we have a young shoots for kids, and then we have for youth another TGP youth tribe, and in that you connect with like-minded people who are leading the same path. In fact, we have an initiative going right now on our social media called Youth for the Earth, so TGP 50 under 30. And all you need to do is you can DM us on Instagram, and we would love to feature the climate advocacy work that you are doing as young people. And if you want to maybe learn about it, you can take our courses, the Climate Literacy Master Course, the Be the Impact Creator, ESG, which we are bringing up very soon. And this is a picture of me when I was really very small, just a few years old. And from there, believing in myself, believing in how, even though I'm small, I can make a difference. I've been able to create a movement, and I invite all of you to join that by a simple step. Go on Amazon and buy my book, Prasiddhi's Amazon Rainforest Adventure. For every book you buy, I will plant one tree. It is an incredible way to support my movement. And I would like to conclude by saying dream high, higher than the sky, think deep, deeper than the ocean, and act like trees, bees, and seas. Thank you so much. If you have questions, I'm open to answer. And maybe if you forget asking them right now, you can reach out to me on social media. Instagram and LinkedIn are the best, or you can write to me an email, and I'd be happy to stay connected.
Thank you so much, Prasiddhi. That was a wonderful, wonderful presentation that you shared with us. Really splitting this big challenge of how to do advocacy as a young individual in this politically driven crisis of climate affairs. And I really liked your formula in how you provide strategies as well. And one of the things that really resonated in my work as well as a human rights advocate focusing on civil and political rights violations, regardless of which human rights area that you're working in, you really have to be ready at all times. I really agree on that, because in this networking era of human rights advocacy or human rights activism, you really don't know which resource will come in your way or who you will meet. So being ready at all times is very important, and that's a long way of investing in yourself. It doesn't happen overnight. So if you have any interest leaning towards climate affairs, today may be the beginning of your journey, leading different actions, being connected to Prasiddhi or Peshang to learn more about the international opportunities available. So I will have one question that I will pose to both of you, but then I really want our participants to engage in the discussion, and maybe they can, even if any question doesn't really pop up at this moment, I would love to hear how you individually experience the implications of climate change, or are you aware that this problem is right our door, impacting our lives in many different ways. But as both of you are engaging in diplomatic platforms or international summits, I'll start with Peshang. But Peshang, I want to know, what is the biggest issue that really discourages states to accept resolutions or actions? Because in every COP, there are days of discussions where we hear in the news that how difficult or how many days it took for X and Y state to accept this and that commitment. So what really relies on states to pull them out of taking actions when it comes to climate affairs?
Yeah, thank you, General, for the nice question. Just before that, I would like to congratulate Prasiddhi for her nice achievements. And accidentally, because I haven't met Prasiddhi until now, today, but in one of her photos, I am inside the photo. So
That's good.
yeah, so I think you can pull up that later. I think it was in the letter K. So it was in the opening of the high level climate champion, so which I work there to support the high level champions, which works to implement the works, empower the works of the non-state actors to fight for the climate change and be in the negotiations. So it was nice coincidence that we were on the same photo there. So basically, this is what we need to do, in my opinion, that we need to consider all the aspects that we can move forward in order to fight the climate change, because we cannot rely on only one solution and leave the other. So we have like the term that strike from all the angles. So we have to work in all the areas in the same manner to fight for the climate change. You asked a very important question, General, is that we all know that there's a climate change. We all know that we need to act, and we have pledged that we are doing that. So what's the matter that it takes us so long in taking decisions in implementation? And actually, this is the question that the youth ask the leaders. So why?
Mhm.
So you need to do it, but why don't you do it? The matter comes to two things. First, the political stability of the country, because shifting, or in the right term called transitioning away from fossil fuel, is not an easy process. So we are talking about the countries which rely on fossil fuel for all the internal demands, and suddenly an external factor comes and you want to shut down all your demands. So it needs time, and it is not happening in just one abracadabra finish end of story. No. And the second one is the most important factor. It's economy and the financial situations. So basically, most of the countries want to shift away, transition away from fossil fuel without spending or investing in renewable energy sources. So this is the and the third one maybe is we have the Kyoto Protocol, which clearly determines that happened in 1997 in Kyoto in Japan, stating that the polluters pay. So whoever pollutes the world should pay. So, and we have major countries that are polluting like we have the huge countries like United States, we have China, Russia, India, and they are responsible for 50% of the greenhouse gas in the world. So the other countries are saying that if you are responsible for 50%, try to pay. So, and we have the cap system, so carbon capture, and so that you have a limit of the carbon credit, and if you have more carbons, consume more carbon to the atmosphere, then after that you need to pay for that, and you can borrow credit from other countries. This is called the carbon trade system. And so countries are trying to make this live, but again, the huge countries saying that if we say okay to this, then we need to pay thousands, billions of dollars, and which we are not ready for it. But at the same time, those countries are paying in another matter. So if the United States says that I won't be paying for like the pledge, the United States pays that. We saw the fire in California that burning thousands and thousands of hectares, and we have seen the floods that are happening in the world. So we are paying for it in a way or another. But the thing is that the countries are not ready to make a bold move in that manner, which is really shame for the countries, that we need to act now, but we are hesitant about it. And another issue is that it's unfortunately this issue can be a campaign, a political campaign for the elections that the parties are using, and that's why an internal political stability is also important for the governments. So that's why it takes them much time to consider those factors before making any decision.
Thank you so much. That was a resonating response. But was it Spain that generated their electricity with renewable energies, and there was a shutdown couple months ago?
Yes. Yeah,
It,
it was in Spain.
well, even this is a huge setback. I think that's a success story by itself, that the government of Spain took the liberty to, in fact, trying to implement a roadmap to switch to renewable energy usages. Do you have any of your favorite states with implementation of innovative actions that you think are working, or maybe colleagues in the room can explore as best practices? Any state action that
Yeah,
you promote or like?
basically, I think now we have a nice movement from Norway,
Mhm.
getting wind energy, and they're selling energy so to outside, so selling renewable energy to the outside world. It was the first time that's happening, that a country is selling electricity energy but resourcing from a renewable. And plus I think Taiwan was creating the high voltage electricity transmission wires. So this was another important factor happening. We have Portuguese that's working really hard in wind and solar. So in Egypt we have a very big solar panel farm that when it finished, it will be one of the largest in the world. We have one in India, which is really huge. So states are doing, and in terms of transitioning, I think India is really in the top countries in the world that after we have a huge difference before and after Paris Agreement. So countries need to step forward, and they need somehow to work in this manner.
Mhm. Well, even though a majority of the states are lagging behind to realize their commitments, I think we also have a role as media leaders or influential focal people to polish the best practices of some of the states as well, because it's important to show the other side of the picture too, where there are leaders, political leaders leading the way, driving the way, trying to set an example for the rest of the global stage. So that was important to hear at least some of the best practices that some countries are initiating. Prasiddhi, what do you think about this? Do you have any countries in your list that you applaud their actions?
I think a lot of them were already taken by Peshang. First, obviously, I will say India, coming from India myself. A lot of our actions with our target of net zero for 2070, which is being the most populated country. It is actually an ambitious target, and we've been working towards achieving that. Then there is France, for instance. They've taken up, Paris is literally hotting up. We saw what happened during the Olympics. So they have
Mhm.
taken, although making Olympics more sustainable was an interesting thing that they did. And they've taken a new initiative to plant cooling forests. So, an interesting way to strategically plant trees in soil which is more sustainable and in places near schools, public parks, which is actually in an innovative method supporting the city. Then there is Austria, for instance. They have been working on interesting ways. So especially unpackaged groceries. These are very simple steps, but what the government has done is make them more widely accessible to the public and make it enacted as law. Or there is Switzerland, which is known for one of the most cleanest water on earth. So
Mhm.
they have stringent laws, especially in terms of using pesticides, polluting the water, and then they also have state of the art technologies for water purification. There is Germany that is growing intensively in the field of renewable energy. Or Paris, being the capital of fashion, is also now bringing up sustainable fashion. So there are some very notable things that are happening. I was in Amsterdam recently, in Netherlands, how they are promoting cycling. These are very simple steps, but on a mass scale, they have really contributed to bringing the European Union's. I focused on EU particularly because they were the ones that were on top of my mind, but they've particularly reduced their carbon footprint in a huge way. Obviously, there is a long way still for them given the high consumption rate, but I think it is quite appreciation worthy.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Uh, I was gonna pass the floor to Priyanka to receive her reflections, but I believe she's off. I'll have her when she's back. So over to our participants, let us hear what you're thinking. We have people from Cambodia, Poland, Indonesia, UK, Afghanistan, Philippines. Please raise your hand and I'll take you to the floor. Any reflections? Anything that you thought is sparkling an idea in your mind? Well, Basir, I see your question, but I would really appreciate, if you want to join us by turning your audio and camera on, if possible. If not only audio, please join us. Or I'll read your question, but I would appreciate. Yes.
Yeah, I had a question to Singh, and I have written my question in chat box. How does it balance the need for economic development in India with the global responsibility to reduce carbon emissions fairly?
Basir, were you able to hear?
Yes, I was able to hear. Thank you so much for that wonderful question, Basir. And I completely agree what you said about economic development. You know what Peshang also earlier mentioned, how it is not, you can't just suddenly put an end to fossil fuels. You can't just suddenly change the entire economy. There is so much that goes into it. And just before I highlighted, we're the most populous country. And there are so many people who are below poverty line, and there is so much to look at. People are not able to get basic necessities, and we are talking about making it sustainable. But there are a lot of things that have been integrated. For instance, there have been, firstly, the opinion of the government trying to change it in general, using youth as a bridge. Young people in India, India has the highest population of youth. So being positioned uniquely, demanding for climate justice, a lot of the environmentalists come from India who are trying to bring it. Then there is also the aspect about how India, when you talk about this in this opinion, we can grow through so many different ways, whether it is green infrastructure, whether it is renewable energy through sustainable farming. With a population, we can use it as a potential to create more green jobs. So this is something very exciting. With a huge population, if we create more green jobs, we are also able to focus on sustainability as well as boosting our local economy and supporting more livelihoods. So green collar jobs has been a huge wave recently. Then missions like lifestyle for environment, taking initiatives across rural areas, urban areas, making it more efficient, are ways through which we are trying to balance out both the things. And I completely agree that sustainable development should not be sacrificing on growth. We also have the goal to grow up economically. We just became the fourth largest economy in the world. So these are definitely important factors, which is why I think just transition is so integral as a focus, something we're trying to bring on by equipping our farmers with sustainable technology, by working on ways which are more climate resilient. And there are initiatives being taken: the National Solar Mission, the National Mission for the Enhanced Energy Efficiency, Sustainable Habitats. Where I live in Tamil Nadu, I am the child ambassador for Green Tamil Nadu Mission. So it is a unique mission where we are not just government, but also schools, communities, empowering everyone with trees, empowering everyone with sustainable techniques. Or else there is an initiative called Meendum Manjupai, where we are making all the grocery stores in Tamil Nadu sustainable. There is green credit program which is being introduced, while carbon credits are still being structured, still being trying to, because it is a very versatile thing, especially in India, especially
Mhm.
because of land availability. But we are trying to work on green credit programs in the most simpler way, which makes it easy and accessible for the general public to do that. And the biggest thing is we are leveraging local solutions. So all of this put together, we are trying to find 360-degree techniques so that how we can balance out both carbon emissions as well as our economic ambitions.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this insightful response. Well, now Priyanka is back. I'll pass her if she has any reflections on the overall points discussed. I know that she also has some experience in engaging in climate advocacy actions. So, Priyanka, over to you for your reflections.
Thank you, Jamre. There was a technical glitch that I had to rejoin again. And thank you, Prasiddhi and Peshang. I have been following your work myself from long time and have been privileged enough to also attend COP conferences and also did some of the work in health and climate advocacy. And Prashidhi, I think I would like to say that your idea that you are having this idea to break it down in Sparkle, and that is a very simpler way for all of our participants and even all of the young people around the world to actually understand how to step by step to enter even into the climate advocacy, even if somebody is having zero knowledge about how to start. And I would like to also say that how you continue to leave your sparkle wherever you go. So that's a nice kind of like a framework that you have built. I would like to ask a question from you, and then I'll also have a question from Peshang as well. And I hope both of my questions will also help our participants as well. Um, as I remember, even from your background, that as you have created like over hundred of microforests that impacted many schools and programs and also communities. So and we know that we always have a lot of challenges, being young in the or like on the table and trying to, navigate a lot of challenges overall. And I remember you mentioned some of them, but would like to hear more, like what challenges have you faced in mobilizing the local support, and how did you overcome them? And I'm sure you must have received a lot of resistance while implementing your work, even if you have a structured framework. So I would like to hear more about that.
So, firstly, thank you so much for those kind words. Priyanka, it's always a pleasure collaborating with you and with the Journalists and Writer Foundation. So, when coming back to your question, I have this simple, I won't say philosophy, I mean, it's too big of a thing, but then I have this simple belief, which is working on a 1% margin. So, if I go to practically 100 people, I expect 1% to turn out, and even if turn up, and even if that 1% does not work out, no problem. Because especially as a young person, as you rightly mentioned, resistance is increased, because firstly they do not believe that a young person can make a difference, and I agree that it is fine to have those apprehensions. Because for instance, when I was initially started off, now I've built an organization, I have interns myself who reach out, talk about the work, who promote this. We have internship programs which we've been running for the past 5 years. But especially when I started out, in fact, even till today, what happened was a young person going to these big people and asking them, it was something so new, something so unexpected for them, that they weren't able to make the decision what to do. And everyone used to appreciate me, everyone was happy that I was coming up to them. But if you're collaborating with someone, it doesn't matter what age you are, what is important is whether you have credibility. And that was something that was there, but I never shied out to fall and then come back again to work on it and to follow up. That is something that is so integral. One of the greatest ways I was able to overcome all of my challenges that I have faced was to follow up. Okay, if someone said we'll collaborate, I ensured that I reached out to them a couple of times until they came back to me. Or whether it was in terms of the work that I do on ground, sometimes the implantation there is an issue, in the nursery there is an issue, in community locally there is an issue. So resolving all of those things, then I also study, so managing everything together. And that is definitely challenging, but I always treat challenges as opportunities for learning, and that mindset really guides me through my journey.
Thank you, Prasiddhi. That is a very well answered answer for my question, and I think that's also a nice idea when you don't expect it's like 50% margin or turnover, and it's just like 1%, and even if we are not getting it, it's never mind it. Um, but thank you for your all of your work, and previously I already shared the LinkedIn link for both of you, so our participants can also reach out to you and connect. And now, Peshang, as I also have been following your work for a long time and always very inspired, and see you with a lot of mutual friend circle. And as we all know that you are also having a background in PhD in environmental science, sometimes climate science, environment science can be considered as a different scope rather than just being combining with climate advocacy and activism, right? So and I'm sure the young people who are just a beginner in learning what is climate change, why it's happening, why all the people are keep talking about it. So at that initial stage, how do you I would say, how do you um, advise people, or how do you see this intersection of environment science, or like policy shaping, or youth advocacy in climate actions? And some of our young participants here, the youth leaders, they are also like from school and they're early in their career programs, and some might be thinking to build it as a career or career pathway. So how do you see that, or maybe is there any advice that you would like to share with our participants?
Like 5, 6 years that we know each other. So always happy to connect with you and with the JWF. Basically, coming back to your question, I think in my personal opinion that every climate activist should have a course in Environment 101. So because without knowing the basics of why we need to fight for our nature, and without knowing the fundamentals of what's changing around you, I think you cannot defend a thesis. You cannot defend your case. You cannot fight for the climate change. The most problematic thing that we as youth think that the governments and the decision makers have is lack of knowledge, in environmental knowledge, in that perspective, because they don't know the exact science that's happening. They don't read the articles. They don't read the research that has been made in that manner. If they do so, they will automatically understand that they need to do things quickly. So I think, in my opinion, you cannot be an activist if you don't know the fundamental basics of environment. So, and I advise all the youth here that it's good to take some courses. I think Harvard school have some environmental courses, which is really nice, and it's for free. Or just read some articles why we need to fight for the climate change. We have some good articles. There's a movie I really recommend, The Inconvenient Truth, by Al Gore. I think it was a movie in 2017, and it's a movie, so you can just grab a snack and just watch the movie, and you will understand that the world is desperately needing help from us, and we need to fight for it. And after you take the courses or see the videos, documentaries about it, we have David Attenborough, the series that he just released. I think watching those will make you feel that, okay, we really need to fight. And if you know the basics and the science of the environment, you can feel and you can see the difference that happened around you in your naked eye. So which makes sense in that manner, I think. So it's really good to have a background in that manner.
Thank you very much. I just also just Googled the movie and just shared the trailer in the chat box. If our participants would like to see the trailer, or I think the movie can be also available on YouTube. I'm not sure, but thank you for sharing it. And it's correct that some knowledge and some background of climate is important, especially why it's very important, and what is ozone layer, what are these gases, and why this climate science is important for the climate advocacy. And thank you very much for your time. But then I would like to pass the floor to our participants. Is any of you having question? Just raise your hand or write in the chat box. And then, or just unmute yourself and if you have any comments or questions or any feedback or any guidance that you want to take from our speakers.
Thank you for the call, Priyanka. And a last note, I really agree with Peshang that this is a quite technical human rights issue, like health affairs. Climate actions are also having an in-depth scientific background, which I think gripping a very basic fundamental information is really requirement, because yes, we can promote this idea of taking everyday actions, being nice to our nature, or being cautious consumers of what we eat, how we purchase these goods and stuff, but or recycling methodologies. Yes, these are very impactful actions, but what's going on in the background? I think to really understand that, we need to have some basic knowledge, because it's not like press freedom, it's not like women's affairs, where the result of violations are clearly visible. Like when there's an apartheid regime, we see that, for example, in Afghanistan, over the course of almost 3 years, young women and girls cannot go to school. It's very abstract. It's very out there, visible. accountable. But climate affairs, like health-related causes, are needing a scientific background, a technical information, not to really overwhelm ourselves, but to have a basic idea about the stem of the cause or what is really boosting the problem to deeper levels. Thank you so much on that note. And my very last question will go to Peshang, and we'll wrap up the first session and spend some maybe 10 minutes or so with the participants, as I want to have their feedbacks on any panels if they have attended, or any feedbacks from the working groups. So please, Peshang, let us know how our participants can engage in the upcoming COP. How is the accreditation going? Can any participant sign up, or what are the online means to participate if there are any?
Yeah, thank you. A very diplomatic question. So basically, this year, I think it will be really challenging year for the whole world because Belém is really not in a center of the country, and it's really far away in the other side of the continent. And the flight tickets are really very high. The accommodation is very limited, and the prices are really expensive. So taking all this into consideration, the number of the delegations will be reduced this year. This is the initial assumption from the UN and other entities in that manner. So this is in one side. In the other side, for the accreditation, normally each year the UNFCCC announce a list of the accredited observer organizations. It's available publicly in their website, and each of you can check the list of the organizations that has been released, and you can it's been released based on the country, so you can just search for your country and you can find the list of the accredited organizations in your country, and there's a contact detail of that organization. You can contact them, and because each organization may have 5, 6, 7, 10 accreditations, and sometimes they won't be able to send all the delegations from their side. If they won't be able to send the full delegations, like company A, organization A have 10 delegations to be sent to COP, but they are managing to send only 5. So this means that in the next year, when the UNFCCC announced the list, they will be reducing that organization's accreditation to 5. So the companies, the organization don't want that to happen. So sometimes, or most of the times, there are many slots available, and the company, the organization doesn't have any resource to send anyone. So if you just ask for the accreditation from the site, and you can prove that you are really an NGO, you are youth, you want to just get the experience inside COP, mostly they are ready to give you accreditations from their site, and you can just get accreditation from that organization, and after that your visa will be free. So and after that you need to find a sponsor to fund your flight tickets and your accommodation. After that, enjoy the negotiations, and with observers badge, you can enter to all the negotiation rooms, and you can see the negotiations, how they are working on.
And
So
also find both
this is
of
the
you
process.
on the ground, huh?
Yeah.
And connect in
Hopefully we'll
person.
develop. Yeah.
Well, the things that you say may sound unrealistic for our young participants, but I assure you that's how it is working for CSW2, UN's Commission on the Status of Women. We always encourage our young leaders to connect their Ministry of Foreign Affairs or Women Affairs, Social Affairs, because just like Peshang noted, there are existing quotas. And it sounds strange, but usually they are left unfulfilled, or some of the other ministries are already leading their own resources or financials. The quotas or requirements established by UN are remaining empty. So please do reach out That's really how advocacy is working. That's really how human rights actions are taking forward. Please do not underestimate the potential that you have. Do not underestimate the power of networking, asking questions, seeking to be a part of the regional or country delegations. That's very, very important. So thank you so much, Peshang, for your response. And please note that today's discussion was exclusive to the participants to be online, but we post these discussions later to our YouTube channel, where we have audiences from over 30 countries to disseminate your impactful remarks to the global networking arena of the Journalism Emeritus Foundation. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart to Peshang, Karim, and Prasiddhi Singh for their very impactful, very inspiring notes and presentations. Any goodbye notes from either of you, and we'll be wrapping up the first session. Peshang?
Thank you so much. I just put in the chat the list of observer organizations so they can follow up all the process for
Thank
the
you.
yeah.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you
Prasiddhi?
for the nice event, and wishing you all the best.
Thanks.
It was brilliant connecting with all of you, listening to you, as in speaking and being here. And as mentioned for the earlier question about COP30, we are also an accredited observer organization. And close to COP30, we will also open applications. So if you are interested to being at COP30, reach out to us and write to us. And otherwise, frankly speaking, I don't think anyone is going to lay out a red carpet to become a youth advocate. You just need to pick up an opportunity and go in platforms like this one, of JWF, listen to people and figure out a way of how you can get started. And gradually, from a simple idea, it turns out to be a movement. So that is all that I have to say. And kudos to JWF for doing these amazing initiatives of connecting people together and giving this opportunity for young advocates to really listen and understand. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me on Instagram or LinkedIn, and I'll be more than happy to stay in touch. Until then, namaste from India.